publisher's standards. So, but we weren't going to talk all about romance, so let's move it on.
But just in case you were wondering, what is a romance? How does it get?
Well, and
Did you
tell
get
you
that
what,
little word about what a story is?
yeah, you're
Is that
supposed to
one
do with, yeah, that's.
Yeah, what the story is, yeah. Because we're going right
She
into it.
decided last night
Okay.
after 2 months of going over this thing.
I
she
finally
decided
looked at
to
it.
add something.
Okay, when you're writing commercial fiction, you might want to know, well, what is a story, and how you build a story. Well, you start with your basic idea. You can pull an idea from the newspaper. You can pull an idea from the news. You can pull an idea from something that happened to you that you'd like to explore further. You could be sitting in an airport and watch somebody walk by and an idea pop to you. It's like, ooh, she looks like she can be a secret agent, or an idea will come to you. Trust me, if you think you don't have enough ideas, or you'll never have enough ideas to support a career, you will have ideas. Once
Once you open the door, it's just like everything is.
they come to you, and people will send them to you.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to write about cattle rustlers in Oklahoma. I wrote one about cattle rustlers. And so people will send you ideas.
So once your brain focuses in on that kind of brainstorming, then you end up, everything does it. I mean, a flash of someone's hair, a song, a lyric,
A TV show.
A TV show.
Something will come up on the TV show, and you'll go, ooh,
Dreams.
ooh, I like that idea. I'm going to change it, and I'm going to do this. Fairy tales. How many
Oh,
times
yeah.
have you seen fairy tales
And I
reworked?
can't wait to see the new Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's an old idea, but with a fresh twist. So there's ideas out there everywhere. So you start with your basic idea, and then you have to come up with characters to fill out that idea. And your characters are very, 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 I can't stress this enough, important. They're very important. If you don't have characters that people can fall in love with, that can root for, that can hate, your evil, villains that people can hate but also empathize with, you don't have a story. You gotta have people.
And your characters don't, you can't have two-dimensional characters, even if they're secondary. You need to make them full. I mean, you need to give them life. And that's part of what a writer does, is breathe life into a character. You don't, because you never know, first off, when that secondary character might be the main character in the next book. So you want people to love them. And in order to do that, they have to be well-rounded and three-dimensional. They have to have their motivations, their reasons behind. They have to have their own backstory, whether you show it in the book or not. But they have to be very full characters, or people won't care about them. They'll skim over them and go,
And we can only gloss over this particular topic because it's like a whole
That's a
lecture
whole
in
other
itself.
workshop.
And if you decided to come back next month to our regular DSRA meeting, which we meet in the same place on the third Saturday of every month, and we can talk about, kind of the basics of how you build a story. But yeah, you've got to have your characters.
And the characters have to have conflict. A lot of people start writing and they want their characters to be happy from day one. No. You will not keep a reader anywhere if you don't keep them in conflict all the way till the end of the book. You got to have something bumping up against them all the way through the book, or your readers will put it down and say, this is the most boring book I've ever read. I don't care if they're in love at the first page.
Character torture is one of the first things you learn, is that you can, just as soon as you think they're going to be happy, you got to screw it up.
And even when you're a nice person and you can't imagine doing these horrible things to these people that you're writing about, well, guess what? You learn that you have a real dark side.
Yeah. And you're allowed to let the dark side out in your books.
And then there's a thing called story structure, and there are books out there that you can get. Christopher Vogler's A Hero's Journey,
The
Writer's Journey,
the three-act story arc that movie makers use, and which a lot of writers use as well.
I mean, beginning, middle, end. That's just the beginning. I mean, that's just skimming the surface. You've got to start it off with a bang for one. You've got to start with a bang to get your reader pulled in. You've got to get into the action immediately. No backstory. Bring them right into the action, and then you start ratcheting up all the conflicts so that your characters are having to struggle through something throughout until the big black moment, and they have to make some huge decision, or they have to risk their lives or something in order to. And it doesn't even have to be a risk their life. It's like risk everything that they thought they wanted.
Or thought they believed in.
Yeah, and they risk that to come up with the solution, which is the final chapters.
Which gives the reader the satisfying end.
Right.
And a lot of people will say, oh, well, the classics aren't structured that way. Well, the classics were written in a different time. modern publishing, an editor, if you don't catch them on the first page, the first paragraph, even the first sentence, they're going to go up next because they've got a slush pile that's from here to the ceiling, and that's just this week.
Yeah.
Okay, next week they're going to have a slush pile the same length.
They
They've
have
got to
so
get
much.
through this.
And they'll pick up your manuscript and they'll walk from the slush pile to their desk. And if you haven't caught them by the time that editor sits down,
It's going in.
Reject.
there.
and you get this
Absolutely.
formal reject.
And the only way you can improve that, we'll probably hit on that, but the only way you can improve the odds of getting past that first sentence is by entering contests where they pretty much have, said that they will read the full 30 pages of your manuscript.
The first 30 pages of like first chapter or first 3
Yeah.
chapters. Or
And
something.
so if you get a contest like that and they actually can read past that first sentence and they find something they like, then maybe you'll get a chance to, impress them again. But yeah, for the most part, if you're sending in cold to a publisher, if you don't catch them in that very opening, then you've lost it. I mean, you're already going to get the formal letter reject. Yes?
No, I just want to say, there's a couple of now famous authors who have been rejected
Oh, yeah.
many, many times before getting the first book published. So
Yes.
what's your experience in that?
I can paint my house with the rejection letters like
Yeah,
that.
and I have over 80 stories that I've published, but I still get rejects.
I
it's-
still.
But before you
Cindy
got
wouldn't
your
hear
first
about
book
being
published, how
rejected.
many, did you get many rejections?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I was writing for 4 years.
Yeah, I was writing for 3 years before I finally published
So,
it.
And
With
I've
the
written 7
e-publisher.
books. I've written 7 books before I sold my first one. And it wasn't even my first one, it was like my 4th one.
And most people we know, it's kind of like an average, but it's like 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's the odds are a little bit better these days because people have sort of a place where they can get some practice in publishing with e-publishing, because there's places online that maybe the standards aren't quite as strict as they used to be.
Or there's
And there's a need for more stories and shorter stories, so that people have a chance to kind of wet their toes in the tide.
Or they're more open to different genres or
Yeah.
different cross genres. Or
And
they're not as worried about where you stick it on the shelf.
And then there's always a little help from your friends, because I'm like the exception to these two, because the first story I ever got involved with, I sold, because I was with them, and they pitched the
Depends
anthology.
where you are and who you're talking to.
Yeah, and it was pure dumb luck
Yeah.
that I sold that one, and then I think the chapter that I wrote, there was it's a niche market, and I ended up selling my second book too right away, but I think it was just because they were looking for the right thing at the right time, and the editor was willing to go the extra mile. I didn't get a full acceptance. I got what's called a revise and resubmit, which is pretty close to a full acceptance. I mean, that's a great thing.
sneeze at that.
You don't sneeze at that.
And you don't waste your time, you get
You
on it.
seriously look at whether you want to revise that book and submit it again, because they liked something about you. They noticed something about you.
But the thing is
But-
to be prepared.
Yeah.
It's not just luck. It's being lucky to get that break, but also being prepared to take advantage of it.